There we go. So,
Hey, how you doing?
I was a little stressed out because um I don't like seeing the little red icons on my assignments. Sorry. Um
Sorry.
it I didn't think I would react that way, but then just like every day I see it, oh my God, it just like drove me bonkers. And that like I reached out to my VC teacher and she told me to send an email to them. But we got two more videos and then we're done.
Yeah.
Or
Sorry. So yeah,
no,
what we've
no,
done
no,
is
no. We've got one more video. One
that's
more
it.
video.
So this one, and then the final, and then that's it. We check you off the list, and then you get your teaching
Yeah,
uh, certification, and then you apply for your license, and you're done.
yeah. Um, yeah. So, um a disclaimer, that video was filmed over two classes on the same day.
Okay.
On the same day because it took them a little while to get the the Padlet. Um, Actually, yeah, we did like a morning class and an afternoon
Yeah.
class. That's why when I said good morning or good afternoon to the students, if you had seen my reaction, their eyeballs went big because it was actually right before lunch.
uh, yeah, not a problem. Not a problem. That helps. Uh, so okay, again, I mean, I just read through your or watched your reflection, but take me through the lesson and then kind of tell me what went well and let me know if there are any areas you think you could improve upon, and then I'll give you my comments.
Okay. It started off well. I know this is the one where you have to show assessments. So I showed two kinds of assessments. I did a formative assessment in the form of a Padlet, and I did that. Well, it was a game, but I kind of sold it to my administration as a test, and they bought it. Um, I think it went really well. I've never seen um, my students in the second part work so well. Um, they were working together, they were collaborating. Yes, they were only speaking Chinese, um, but whatever. And you know, um, and I thought it went well. I showed it to my coworker, and she's like, because we always we always have bitch and gab sessions after work, and this group was really quiet with her, and I showed her, and I sent you a copy of the test. Um, it's not mine. I bought it.
Mhm.
But as a teacher, you can do whatever. You can use whatever resources are yours, and it's not an academic paper. So, but I guess I sourced it. Yeah, the pilot was okay. Um, the questions I asked my students are not the questions I would ask native English speakers. I kind of have to dumb it down for lack of a better word. I have to level my language, I guess is the correct term, um, with my students because they are ELLs. Um, but I kind of got them to think about different things that when they were working on their Padlets. And then we did have a discussion, but Mandy came to me after the first class. It's like, I don't want to um to include that in your video, so I had to kind of respect her wishes because I do send copies of my videos to administration just to protect myself and the students.
Sure.
But
Okay.
um, Chris, who's been in class but not in class, he actually was participating really well. I was really proud of him. I pulled him aside after class and I was like, I wish you were like this the whole semester because you would you did so great. I'm proud of you. Um, and yeah, so like overall, I think um, I guess I'm making progress. But then I'm not a new teacher, so this is a reflection of um, what I've been doing the last 16 years.
Hmm.
Um, I had a assignment where for 4 and 5 where the peer review, and that was the comment I got. He's like, obviously you're like a very experienced teacher. You 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 know how to like manage a classroom well. I'm just a little bit worried about my next video, because that's the big one. And
Yeah,
maybe
I wouldn't be too worried about that. And I'll explain why in a couple minutes. But just focusing on this video, I had one huge question that came up. Like the students, do they seem to enjoy your classes? Do your students really enjoy your class?
yes, actually they do because I teach them twice a week. So when we film, if they do
Hmm,
well, then we can watch a movie in the second class.
got
So
it.
it kind of gives them a carrot, and I mean, they've all been accepted to university. They're done in 13, maybe 20 days. They're done. They're done in 20 days. So they've
Mhm.
mentally checked out. So
Mhm.
I actually, I kind of have to spend some of my own money to make it worth their while. But like they were like this at the beginning of the year too, because I don't sit in front of the class usually and lecture off a PowerPoint, which is what the other foreign teachers do and what all the Chinese teachers do. So I offer something different. We do a lot more activities, a lot more. I let them go on their own a lot. I let them explore and take ownership of their learning, as opposed to me
Mhm.
just sitting there and saying, "Well, you gotta do this, you gotta do this." Now, I teach AP, but there's no AP exam.
Yeah.
So it's just a money-making factory for the administration. They don't care. Um, they give I don't even know why they give the kids the AP books because they can't handle it. So I just took topics at the beginning of the year that I found interesting, and then like first semester we did World War I, second semester we did World War II. These are topics
Mhm.
I know a lot about. I have lots of materials, lots of experience with it. Um, I did not have a set curriculum. So I kind of had to come up with it myself. Even the standards were just I I could kind of pick and choose. So pretty much what I did is I taught my lesson and then I looked back and said, well, what standards could I apply to what I taught? So I was doing a lot of backwards engineering. If I was in the school, like in the States or in Canada, you're given a curriculum and you're given standards, and you fit within that mold, and I've done that. But here in China, I've never ha had a set curriculum given to me by administration. So
Mhm.
it's a little bit more work, but um, I think the results are there, and I think the kids actually learned. And the one thing that really surprised me is, especially during the vocabulary section of the test, they weren't using their phones.
Mhm. Mhm.
They weren't.
Yeah.
I gave them the option.
Yep.
I gave them the parachute, and I was like, wow, it really stuck. It really, really stuck with them what I taught them. Um, and I was like, I came home, I was walking on clouds. My wife was like, what happened? And I was like, well, it was amazing. I've never, like even in the first semester, I let we did like a traditional exam, um, and they struggled, and I let them use their phones to look up words, um, but this time I gave them the option, but they didn't really need it until the last activity, and but then I made them say Schindler in English as opposed because they were saying it to me in Chinese, and that I knew what they were saying, but I was like, gotta say it in English. And yeah, I thought it was really great.
Yeah, I mean, that shows progress, right? And that's another type of formative assessment is observation. So you observe that they were not using their phones, right? So it's great, right? It validates kind of what you've been doing, even though you're not focusing a lot on the English. No, it's not an ESL class, but they are ESL learners, that they're able to do that and not not fall back on their phones, which they could have easily have done, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I thought your lesson was good, right? Yeah, the Padlet was well done. It introduces them to a different type of technology, and I thought they did well on that. And then you had that, more of a summative assessment or more of a formal assessment at the end. But you also used observation. You were walking around. You clarified different things for students when you had to, and that could be used as a form of assessment because you're asking questions. Um, so I thought that part went well. Yeah, and I was surprised. The students look like they really liked your class, and maybe they don't realize it, but they're learning at the same time, which is what you realize.
Yeah,
And this is
that's
going to be beneficial. So those are the students are going to a Western type of education when they go to university. This is going to be helpful. At least they're going to be introduced to it and have an idea about this inquiry-based learning.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's actually a callback to module 3 because they're doing like gamification in the
Yeah.
classroom. So like even myself, I'm using prior knowledge. Um, whereas like last year, this time last year, I wouldn't have thought of doing that kind of an exam. Now, I did tell them that if they were successful, it's not in the video. If they were successful, their final exam would be scored as a 95, and
Oh,
every every task they didn't complete, I would knock off like 7%. Because the
okay.
lowest mark the school allows me to give them is a 60.
Okay.
And that's just to keep the parents happy and paying the money.
Mhm.
So it's not everything, it's all for show. Um, but but we did vocabulary, then we did um they had to recognize people, then they had to do a timeline. I thought the timeline would have thrown them for a loop,
Mhm.
um, but it didn't. And then they did a map exercise, and then the bonus one. So I mean, yeah, I thought it was great, and I shared my that folder I sent you. I shared it with some of the people in my cohort who teach social studies, and I'm like, this is the best $6 I've ever spent in my life, and
Yeah.
yeah, so,
No, no. I mean, if you look at progress, like I said, also the collaboration, the group work, right? They're talking, they're engaging, and that's what you want as a teacher, right? Because with this class, it's a little bit different. They're done, um, but they're still putting in that effort because you've made it fun.
yeah.
Yeah.
And
So I thought that
the
was
my last class is gonna be on. Sorry to go off topic. I just want to
no.
spitball. My last class is we're gonna go revisit the PBL and have some of the students present their radio shows and have the other students mark it in class. So I think that should
Nice.
be able to bring everything together. I think I think that'll be good. And I'll start filming that on Wednesday.
Mhm. Yeah, I think you're going to do fine with that last video. Even with baseline videos, you include a lot of those requirements, a lot of those standard requirements. Even in the baseline, you're doing it, right? I mean, the formative assessments are there. Sometimes you're planning for instruction. Even though we're not really highlighting that, but throughout your lessons, even, 1, 2, and 3, 4 and 5, 6, 7, 8, you're still exhibiting a lot of things that you've done in the past. So that's why I think when you get to this final evaluation, it's a little bit more planned when you're looking at the standards, trying to hit all 8 standards, but you're already doing it anyway to some extent within your lessons.
Yeah.
It's just kind of highlighting those areas. I think you're going to do fine. I mean, you come in already, you greet the students, you ask them how they were doing, right? And you're targeting parts of standards 1, 2, and 3 already. Um, and then you just did 6, 7, and 8. You're going to be setting up lessons anyway. You're using evidence-based strategies. You vary the lesson. Sometimes you're taking more of a role in facilitating, and other times it's the student. So you do create that student-centered lesson to a certain extent.
Yeah.
It's all built in
Sometimes,
to
yeah,
yeah.
my social studies methodology teacher said you really got to learn to read the room. You, sometimes the kids aren't feeling it, and you gotta take over um, a little bit, and then let them go. And sometimes they're ready to go. You just gotta. I don't know. I always have a plan B and a plan C, so, depending on the age group I'm teaching. In kindergarten, I have like a plan D and a plan E, uh, because with that age group, I don't know what I'm gonna get every day. But with the high school kids, I usually have um, like each activity can go 3 different ways, and
Yeah.
I kind of learn. Well, I mean, as you get more experience as a teacher, you learn, you can feel how the class is going to go as you're walking into the room, because you're looking at body language, you're looking at uh, facial expressions, so you're looking at the time of day. Like I teach right after lunch,
Hmm.
so that's another difficulty. I have no classes in the morning. I only teach 6 classes all week at the high school, and I teach like my workload is. I actually don't like it because I find it hurts me as a teacher. I prefer a heavier workload. That way, I'm always sharp, and having downtime kind of sucks because I prepare my classes at home. So I just sit at school and play on my phone. I just prefer to plan at home because I'm more comfortable here. Um, my computer's a lot nicer, and my internet's working.
Yeah, there you go. Internet's working. Yeah. Um, so let me just ask you, I just have one question about the using data part of the standard. So when you're doing assessments, how do you use data to um, for future lessons?
Um, like if I'm giving a quiz, for example, if the kids are not scoring where I think they should be, then I would take the next class. So I guess for me it would be the Thursday class, and just to go over what they missed, because usually there's a pattern. Like if I did a bad job of uh, relaying information or setting up activities with the goal of them learning and they're not getting it, um, then that gives me the opportunity to reteach. Now,
Hmm.
I did mention this in my reflection, and I went on a great deal in my data collection reflection a little bit more. Um, I did notice that like the group work, they really enjoyed it. So that's why I want they always scored a lot higher on that than they do individually.
Hmm.
Um, so that's why I chose my summative assessment on as a group test, because I wanted them to be in the best position to succeed. And tests tests can be very um difficult. Now, you only see 7 students. I have like 17. So so the other kids just don't show up. So
Okay,
um but my school told me that I have to give them a final exam. So I'm gonna give them a piece of lined paper and I'm just gonna be like 200 words. Tell me why you should pass my class.
nice.
Because I can't give them any formal exam because they were never there. They didn't they didn't
Correct.
do they didn't do any, it's not fair to the kids that showed up. And it's,
Hmm.
and then I don't want to spoon feed them. So um and
So,
I signed a new contract with a new school, so I don't
oh, there
really
you go.
I don't
Yeah,
really care.
I was gonna ask you about that because what grade would you give them, right?
Yeah.
And because if they've never shown up, you're not gonna give them the highest grade compared to the students who did show up, and then that's you might have some angry parents. Who
Well,
knows, right?
I mean, in Canada, if you miss 20 days of school, you got to
Mm.
repeat unless you
Hmm.
unless you have a doctor's note.
Hmm.
So when I was in grade 13, because where I went to school, we had 13 years of school. When you turned 18, you could just sign a note at the office and leave school. They couldn't, but I made sure I only missed like 19 days of school.
Yeah.
Be-
Okay.
because of that 20th day, I was in danger of repeating the whole year.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, I don't know. I mean, with those students who missed, I think that's a great way to do it. I mean, they're done anyway. And moving on. And it's nice to see that the 7 students did come in and they actually learned something and progressed, and hopefully they'll be better for it when they get to
Yeah.
university.
I hope so. So I'm gonna be filming my next video over the next, I'm gonna say 2 weeks.
Okay.
Um, but I don't feel like I need a weekly meeting with you. I'm
Yep.
pretty, and I've never tried that. So we can meet the next time I would say would be the 27th, same time,
Yeah, that's fine. Just like you did this time, send me the
everything else.
information when you're ready. Yep.
Yeah,
And the same around the same time that you did this one, and then I can pop one on this Sunday and we can meet. But I'll mark it on the calendar anyway.
perfect. And is there anything that I could have done better? Because I'm getting a little message
For this
from,
one, yeah,
yeah,
just for this one, the only thing I highlighted, or and you might have done this off video, who knows? Um, when you gave instruction, let's say the first time, when you introduced the group activity the first time, and you had the students start it, you might want to ask if everyone and understands what they need to do. But I think you've done that in other things. You
I
always
think
ask what they need before you move on. Um, but I would just make sure you ask if everyone understands before you move on. And you could, it could be a thumbs up, thumbs down, a yes, no, a nod of the head.
yeah.
But that's
I think it ended up on the cutting room floor because I had the PowerPoint that looked exactly like it. I showed them
mhm.
the first one, and once they got into the rhythm, when we moved on to the second activity, they didn't need it. They they kind of understood what was going on. Now, if they had asked questions, I would have been, yeah, this is what you guys should be doing. Um, I just wish that computer I could have done it just solely on the computer, and they could have just moved the pieces with their fingers, and that would have
Oh
saved
yeah.
my wife hours of cutting because I I I failed cutting in kindergarten, and I can't cut a straight line to save my life. So my wife sat in front of the TV and was cutting out
Mm.
hundreds of pieces of paper for me. Um, but yeah, I explained it to them, and well, like if they had struggled with the first activity, I would have jumped in and showed them what I wanted in the second one. But once they
Okay.
got the hang of it, and pretty much every activity ended in the same way, they had to like fill out a little form. Um,
Mhm.
they're they're really bright. They're really bright, and I thought, um, I would have recognized that if something wasn't uh going well, I would have jumped in. But
Mhm.
they were good.
Yeah, yeah, you usually do. I've noticed that in other videos, but um that's the only thing that kind of popped out at me, and that's really the only comment I put in that section right now.
Okay, good.
Mm.
Um, if you get a chance, can you submit my assignment today or
Yeah,
tomorrow?
sure, sure. That's the exact same thing I said last time. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do that right now, like right now, like too sweet, and
Per Perfect.
I'll put that on so you don't get that red dot.
Yeah, I hate. I mean, I do the red dot because it's due on Saturday and we meet on Sunday. That's fine. But like,
Yeah.
I it it causes me. I don't know. Like my ADHD gets a hold of me, and then like my mind starts, like I'm checking my phone every 5 minutes,
Uh,
refresh. So yeah, it did cause a little bit of stress, but like yeah, thank you very much. I will see you in a couple of weeks. I will see you on I'm gonna say the 27th, because the video is due on the 28th, but we have our meeting on the 27th.
so Sunday at the same time, right? So it'll
Yeah,
be
yeah,
14, 21, 28.
yeah. Perfect.
Okay. Yep. So
Have
I'll see you in a couple weeks then.
have a great week.
Okay, you too, Andrew. Talk to you
Bye.
later.
Bye.
Bye.